Welcome to Disney A, the Canadian-themed Disney travel podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Krysta. Thank you for pointing. You almost didn't.
I almost didn't.
You almost didn't.
Yeah.
How's it going, Brandon?
Well, it's been better.
It's been better. We're not doing great, and so we apologize for seeming a little subdued probably today. We were debating recording this weekend or not, but we thought we would. We said goodbye to our dear puppy kind of unexpectedly this week, so.
Sort of unexpected. It was sudden,
Yeah.
But she's been sick for like a year and a half, so it was always a matter of time, but yeah, very sad.
Very sad. So yeah, we've been a little bit more subdued the last few days, but yeah, so we miss our puppy, but we thought we would come and record and do some normal things.
Yeah, I think Freya would want us to be normal, so
100%. Yeah, well, as normal as we ever are, right? Yeah, she would. She was, yeah.
Well, we better move on before I start crying.
Yeah, me
again.
too. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump. We just got personal, so I'm going to get personal with the listeners and jump right into a Better Know a Listener.
Before drinking and everything?
Yeah, right, but I'm getting into it.
Okay, because we need to change the subject and let's do it.
Personal time.
Personal time, okay.
Today we got somewhere from North Carolina. Wilmington. At least I assume it's the one in North Carolina. Apparently there's as many Wilmingtons as there are Springfields in the States. But yeah, anyway.
Guys, what is it with you in Wilmington?
I don't know. There's like 13.
I understand Springfield a lot more than Wilmington.
I don't know. It must have been some dude or something. It doesn't really even say. But
interesting. If you know, please tell me. Because
Wilmington's
I'm really
the biggest,
curious.
so I'm just assuming it's that. And it's kind of an interesting city.
Okay, tell me about Wilmington, North Carolina.
It's a port city. We have had a lot of those.
Man, yeah.
A riverfront city, we've had a lot of those as well.
Are you just picking waterfront
No,
because you
just-
like waterfront?
I'm picking ones with somewhat interesting names that have a fair amount of hits on listens. So
Okay, interesting.
I don't know. I mean, technically, populous areas tend to be port cities or on the river anyway.
That's
so
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
it's a selection bias. Anyway, they have a World War II museum on an old World War II battleship, the USS North Carolina, which is one of the main tourist attractions, I guess.
That makes sense. That's interesting.
It's known as the entrance to Cape Fear because it's like right on the ocean, and Cape Fear is a cool name as well.
Totally.
And yeah, it's recognized as the first World War II heritage city. I guess there was a lot of in the States.
In the States. Interesting.
Since it was such a port on the East Coast.
That makes sense.
And they had a lot of ships coming out of there to go over and fight in the war, and that's why they have the big museum. They also have the Cape Fear Museum of History and Science. I just like Cape Fear. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
That's a great name.
And they also have a big, well-known fancy mansion called the Bellamy Mansion, which looks a heck of a lot like the Haunted Mansion.
There's a reason for that. I'm pretty sure that's the one I said.
No, you said it was in, like, somewhere random, like Delaware or something.
Oh, okay.
But it looks a lot like the Haunted Mansion.
It really does. Interesting. I want to know about this Bellamy Mansion.
Well, there's a lot of stuff, but it was like built by a doctor. Doctor / slave owner, of course, because it's old timey North Carolina.
Yep.
And yeah, there's
just when I say of course, like a house like that.
Yeah, it's a plantation house.
It's a plantation house.
That's history for you. Yeah, there's a lot of unfortunate racial history in this city as well. It's also well known for the 1898 Wilmington Massacre.
That I've heard of.
Yeah. Basically, it was a thriving, integrated city, and then some white supremacists came along and killed a bunch of black people and stole their businesses and kicked them out.
Okay.
So, not great.
That's pretty terrible, actually.
Yeah. So, that's kind of a bummer, but...
Interesting.
In better news, it's now one of 29 Coast Guard cities.
Oh.
So, they have a big Coast Guard presence there as well.
That's really
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And tying it back into Disney and the movie industry, it has the largest domestic movie studio outside of California.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Cinespace Studios.
That seems very random.
Yeah, it has the third largest soundstage in the United States and houses the largest special effects water tank in North America.
What? In Wilmington? Wow.
Movies that have been shot there include Iron Man 3.
What?
Sleepy Hollow.
Ooh, I should watch that.
And The Conjuring.
Oh, I have watched that.
And here's one for you, A Walk to Remember.
I did watch A Walk to Remember. Yes, I did. That seems incredibly random.
Yeah.
See, the other stuff makes sense to me because, like, port stuff, right? Like Port City
there must
and the
have,
history.
Must have been some, like, tax credits or something. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's interesting. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, Iron Man 3 shot there.
Huh. And A Walk to Remember. Don't forget that.
That one's scarier than The Conjuring, I think.
Did you liked The Conjuring, hey?
Conjuring is a fantastic horror film, and actually the sequels are pretty good. The spin-offs less so, but it's good.
Solid.
Good solid horror.
Yeah, some of my students were talking about The Conjuring movies.
And I like that it's like kind of wink wink nudge nudge based on real cases of the couple.
Right.
Like obviously it's a movie, so it's not true.
Inspired by.
Yeah.
Inspired by.
So I kind of like that.
I do too. I like
so
that as well.
There you go.
That's very
Tying
cool.
it back into spooky season.
And Sleepy Hollow is spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever watched that one?
I have, yeah.
I didn't
It was
watch
pretty
that
good.
I always wanted to watch it, and I just never got around to it.
It's very gothic.
Yeah, that's why I want to watch it. It seems really cool. Interesting. Maybe I'll watch it this year. This spooky season, although we're starting to run out of days.
Christopher Walken makes a great headless horseman.
I have heard that. Well, does Christopher Walken not do anything great, honestly? Because even the, like, bad stuff is, like, ironic bad and fantastic because it's Christopher Walken.
Yeah, he gives it his all. He's a
Exactly.
lot like Nicolas Cage. Just goes for it no matter the quality of the movie. So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like your Better Know a Listener for this.
Wilmington.
Wilmington, North Carolina. Basically really is interested in, like, the architecture and...
The
like,
architecture is
history and
beautiful.
stuff.
They feature North Carolina a lot on, like, the house hunters and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool, like, relatively inexpensive real estate in that state, and the coastline is beautiful. Like,
very cool.
You're not going to have the nice weather of somewhere that's a little more south. Like, it's south, but it does get kind of wintry, dreary in the winter.
Which is actually kind of its own thing. Those kind of...
Yeah.
But,
I wouldn't mind visiting North Carolina. There's a lot of history and cool architecture.
Cool
for
architecture,
sure.
yeah. And we, of course, acknowledge not great history necessarily, but, like, that is true everywhere. And it's still history.
We went to Germany.
Yeah, we went to Germany, exactly. And we always recommend people to do some of the things we did in Germany.
Yeah.
So, but also beautiful architecture, really cool history, and, it's a really cool area, I think. So, hello, if you are from Wilmington. Message us and tell us what is the deal with so many places named Wilmington. What is it named after?
I doubt they would know either. It's just...
So, if anyone knows, I need to know.
I don't know.
This is really bothering me now. I'm, like, going to lose sleep. I'm going to go on, like, a 10-day research kick on, like...
It's named after Jim Wilmington.
This guy. He's just this guy.
He just went around and licked a bunch of city signs.
Well, my favorite...
And they had to change the name.
I guess it's fine. My favorite example of towns named after a person, I know you know this, but I'm saying on the podcast, is I used to teach in this tiny little hamlet, and there were a lot of tiny little hamlets along this one road, and it spelled out the letters of the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what it was. Like
Walter
Walter, and so the first town on the road started with a W, and then the next one was an A, and then the next one was an L, and all the way down. Is that not the best example?
And then they have one that's like Walter back, like
Retlaw.
Walter.
Yeah, and that's the last town in the thing. Isn't that amazing? That is my favorite example.
I think Walter might have been a bit of a narcissist. I'm just
saying. Yeah, it wasn't like someone naming it after someone named after himself. Yeah. Like all the way, down the whole road. Yeah. Okay. So, Brandon, now let's go back to what are you drinking today?
Well, we put this off till Sunday morning, so it's delicious coffee, and I think you put a little bit of Bailey's in here. I did.
This is not typical black coffee color.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not quite Krysta strength, but a little bit. Mine's more Krysta strength.
It tastes good with a little bit of Bailey's in there.
Sure does. And do you have a? I'm drinking the same, but yeah. Do you have a nerd thing?
I do. So this has been bubbling for a while.
Okay.
But it was announced that everything was finally approved and the sale has gone through for Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard.
Interesting.
So this is on the gaming front.
Of course.
Activision Blizzard is a absolutely massive gaming company. The Activision, of course, bought Blizzard several years ago. Probably like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now. It seemed, I don't know. Time goes by really fast, but Activision, of course, is well known for things like Call of Duty.
Right.
Guitar Hero back in the day. They haven't made one of those in a
love
long time.
Guitar Hero.
That was one of their big things. And then Blizzard, of course, is your Warcrafts and your Diablos. And they also own the company that makes Candy Crush, which is probably sneakily their most profitable game, sadly. But yeah, so Microsoft bought them, and it was having trouble passing like antitrust laws and stuff because it's like a merger of such big companies.
Right.
Similar to when Disney bought Fox, like there was fights with that, but they finally restructured the deal enough to satisfy the EU, which was the final speed bump in that, and now Microsoft owns all of that. So,
wow, Microsoft, hey?
Yeah, Microsoft's going out and buying all these gaming companies because they have this thing called Game Pass where they need a bunch of games. It's kind of like Netflix for gaming,
right?
And it's actually a pretty good deal. I use it.
That's where you played Disney Dreamlight Valley on, was your Game Pass.
Disney Dreamlight Valley's on there, and a whole bunch of games, and a lot of their first party games will come out day one on it.
That's
so
really
it's like
cool.
You don't have to buy the game; you can just play it.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. So
it's like it's
Netflix.
It's
for
Netflix for
video
games. Yeah,
that's really cool. So when, like, just recently, this was all like stamped and
the purchase like started a year and a half ago or something like that. But yeah, as of Friday, it was official, and
wow,
yeah, so
that's cool.
Pretty big news in the nerd world.
Totally. Are you is that going to affect any games that you're going to play, do you think?
Well, it's interesting. Some people speculate that like the World of Warcraft subscription might get rolled into Game Pass or stuff like that.
Okay.
But who knows? They probably don't want to do that. Like, that's a lot of money. I don't know.
How long have you been playing World of Warcraft?
Wait, no, I
longer than longer than you've known me.
At least years.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But longer than you've known me.
It's 20 years. Yeah.
Because you've known me 20 years.
I started playing World of Warcraft in its beta, which was 2003. It started.
Oh, okay, there we go.
And then I didn't play it right at launch because I was a poor student. I couldn't afford it.
Fair enough. Yes, I remember that.
I didn't have a computer good enough to play it, which is sad because it's not a very demanding game. But anyway, it's been 20 years that I've been playing that, and that's a long time.
Interesting. Yeah, so I was wondering if it was going to affect like any of that.
Who knows? So the good news is that, lucky for him, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, who is scumbag.
Yeah. Oh yes. I remember hearing about him. Yeah.
Yeah. He just
a horrible human being.
Just a horrible You thought Chapek was a money grubbing capitalist that you didn't like. Well, the guy that runs Activision Blizzard was much worse. Anyway, he is going to be stepping down after the transition period by the end of next year or something like that. But yeah, obviously he's just making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on this deal, so I don't think he cares that much.
Not even a little bit, but he can go hide in a hole somewhere, basically.
Yeah. So we'll see what the impact is. The track record of Microsoft taking over studios isn't great.
Okay.
But who knows?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Blizzard hasn't been exactly knocking it out of the park lately either, so I don't know.
Maybe them coming together is all the good we need, right?
Maybe Blizzard can go make a Star Wars game now.
Ooh, fun.
I don't know. Because the licensing is like all over the place.
Interesting. Who does the Star Wars game that you play? Is that...
That's, I think, the Jedi Fallen
Fallen Order
and then the sequel Survivor. I think that was EA still.
Okay.
EA used to have like exclusive rights to Star Wars
Okay.
games, and then recently they've expanded out, and there's a lot of hope that they're gonna start actually making good games, because EA is
not so great.
They doesn't have a great reputation. They're well known for churning out copies of Madden every year that are progressively worse and filled with more microtransactions and stuff like that. So
I see. Speaking of video games, I have a nerd thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more subdued and not newsy as yours. But during the summer, you bought me a cozy game pack on Steam.
Because you're a cozy gamer.
Because I'm a cozy gamer. I would never think of myself as a gamer, but cozy gaming is a thing, and you said that. No, I definitely am.
Yo, you're not a gamer until we start playing Baldur's Gate 3 together, and then you're gonna be a real gamer.
But I mean, like, I played World of Warcraft one summer, and did, well, this was a long time ago, but I got all the way up I leveled up fully my one character, then I started a new one while you were at work and did, like, quite well. Yeah. But haven't touched it since.
We played the first character, like, I helped you.
Yeah, we named them after Shakespearean characters.
and then yeah, you played a fair bit solo on that.
And then school started and I stopped playing. Yeah. But cozy gaming, like Animal Crossing and Disney Dreamlight Valley and I really like Pokemon Violet. We were playing Scarlet, but we didn't play that as much yet.
Yeah, I could pick that up again.
Yeah. But yeah, there was this cozy game pack, and I really liked that stuff. And I played the first one I played from there was Lemon Cake, and I played it all and got a little obsessed. You were laughing at me, and I said I wanted to play this one in the fall, and I started playing A Witchy Life Story. So it's just like a short game. It's very cute. You're a witch going to a village, and you have all the villagers with their problems by making potions and gardening, and it was very nice and cozy yesterday. And I had my black kitty sitting on my lap, and you were making me drinks, concoctions, potions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that was fun.
That was nice. It was lovely. We were having a pretty quiet weekend, so that was like a nice thing to do. But it was a fun one. It was very quick, and now I'm going back and doing a bunch of achievements through it. So yeah, A Witchy Life Story. And my witchy name was Lilac.
So would you recommend that game to people, or?
I wouldn't spend a bunch of money on it or anything like that. But yeah, like if you have an afternoon or an evening or something and you want to just play a super, super cozy, you're not thinking, it's not a puzzle game or anything like that. It's just, very straightforward. You build up friendships and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said for short games. I played a couple short games this weekend myself.
Want to recommend or anything?
I played, it was called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
That's the one I was hoping you were going to mention.
It's quite a short game. It's kind of a Zelda knockoff.
Oh, okay.
Similar setup to Zelda, very Super Nintendo type graphics, very short, but kind of funny, especially if you're into internet culture. There's a lot of internet culture jokes and stuff like that. Not a very serious game at all, but it was fun.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
Fun.
Yeah, mine was less funny and silly and stuff. It was just, I'm gonna make this potion, and then I'm gonna give it to this villager, and then I'm gonna make this potion. It was very that kind of thing, but it was cute, and I liked the graphics and stuff. Were cute. Brandon, last thing, we have a Loki episode to discuss. Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Gut reaction, spoiler free. What did you think?
I'm a bit confused. Well, I think this, and this is going to lead into our one of our news items.
Oh.
I think something happened in the editing room on this one. Like they kind of jumped streams or something. I was reading, and I felt this way myself. A lot of people were like, "Is this really episode 2? Did I miss something?" It was wonky. I don't know.
There was like weird pacing kind of thing.
Weird. They jumped, and like this thing seemed out of order, and like they were asking you to care about characters that you didn't really know. I don't know. It feels like we missed an episode.
Interesting. I'm curious to see the news item that you have that relates to this.
Yeah.
Okay. I really like Loki as a vibe. Like, I like the style, and I love him.
Tom Hiddleston and Loki's vibes in this episode were unmatched.
Like, crazy good. And, of course, the connection with Mobius and stuff like that. Nothing against the actors is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, no, the actors
and the chemistry
were pretty good, and I'm firmly convinced that Owen Wilson could have chemistry with a paper bag or something.
It's true. Have you ever seen something and you'd be like, that didn't work?
Yeah, like he gets along with everybody, like on screen. I don't know, is he just like a really nice guy or? But, like, yeah.
I have actually heard that he's just... You know how you have those actors and they're like, oh, he's just playing himself, like, all the time? I think that's Owen Wilson.
Probably?
Because, like, all his characters, even the really caricature-y ones...
Yeah, like, what you look at the Wes Anderson films, he's in those a lot. But
I think that's just him.
It's just him, yeah. That's fine.
Have you ever seen a movie where he doesn't play the same kind of guy?
No.
Right?
He should just... play a serial killer just once.
Yeah, but the thing is, he'd be like this misunderstood one that you end up really liking and kind of rooting for.
I don't know. Just like a mustache twirling villain. I don't know. Anyway.
But yes, Tom Hiddleston's amazing.
Yes, Loki in this episode was really cool. He gets a lot of really cool moments.
Yeah.
But it was edited weird and the plot was
weird.
It's confusing and like, I don't know.
I without saying it, I get what you're saying.
I'm hoping that there is a point to that, and it wasn't just a blunder in post-production or something.
Like they had to take a chunk out of something. Yeah, well, anyway, we can talk more about that part in the news. But yeah, I like the whole vibe. I think Tom Hiddleston's amazing. I will watch this even if the story goes to absolute pieces because I love him as Loki so much, and I think and it's not just like a character he hasn't given up or anything like that. Like he's still really, really good at it. So
I'm hopeful they can win me back. But yeah, episode 1 was quite good. Mm-hmm. Episode 2 was a mess as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't go as far as to say mess, but I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, interesting. Disney A News Update. Do you want to jump right into your news that relates to this?
No, that's a tease. You gotta do your news.
Okay, well, I've just got a couple news items. Both are Disneyland focused. So the first, we want to start positive or negative?
Let's go negative. Get it out of the way.
Price increases.
Wow, that's just facts. Like that's not positive or negative.
No, it's pretty negative because of Disneyland Magic Key Pass holders, 1-day tickets, multi-day tickets. Genie Plus, everything went up. I mean, they do that. They used to do that January, February, right? Now I think it's more again after they were closed and then reopened.
Yeah, kind of it reconfigured their calendar, their annual calendar, basically. But
I'm not surprised they do this because think of everyone who's getting Disneyland tickets for Christmas. They want the.
It's been fall since the COVID closure reopening. Yeah, it's been fall. So,
some of the Magic Key, just because we looked at that, because of course the price increases totally vary depending on day and type of ticket and everything. But the Magic Key ones either went up $50 or $150, which oof.
The very tippy top and the very bottom, the California resident only bottom. Only went up by $50, and then the two middle ones went up by $150, which for your bottom tier for non-residents is a pretty big percentage increase.
Yeah, that's a big percentage increase, and like I think they just want more and more people getting the tippy top one, right?
Maybe I don't know what they want other than they want the pass holders to go midweek.
Right,
which is what they want.
It seems like that's been happening too. They say like one of the quietest days now is like Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting. And one of the busiest days is like Tuesday, Wednesday, which used to be the dead one.
Used to be dead, yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's an entire mess. So they're getting what they want with that, but the way they did the price increases just boggles my mind.
It's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay, so that's the more negative one, because anytime I'm spending more money, it's more negative. And I'm going, and I couldn't buy my tickets yet. It's still too early, but like now I have to spend more money.
You knew it was coming.
Of course, and I was just like, I was hoping it wasn't by that much. And of course, depends on the day. We'll do multi-day, so.
And maybe there'll be a Canadian resident sale coming up.
Fingers crossed. Also, in a more positive news, we've got some cool additions, plural, to Galaxy's Edge. Well, it's one cool addition, but there's several of them.
They're a team.
They are a team. They're so cute. There are 3 walking droids that are in the style of
BD
from Fallen Order games, and then also that style is in like some of the shows and stuff. It's like in the
BD too. Style droid did show up in the last season of Mandalorian, which was a big deal because it was the first time you had seen it in live action. It was, it's your companion in Jedi Fallen Order. I haven't played the sequel. I assume it's back.
I'm gonna say he. We personify these droids, I think.
I mean, they're sentient, but I don't think they have gender. But anyway, doesn't matter. There's some disagreement if they're actual, because they're maybe a little bit chunkier than the one from the game.
Just BD-esque then.
Yeah, they're clearly BD style, and they're walking, which
literally walking around,
which is a big deal because you don't see animatronics walking until now. They've been working on the Baby Groot one.
Yep.
They've shown that at a couple D23s. I figure it's only a matter of time till we have a fully functioning Grogu.
Yep, I can see that.
Because right now you have Grogu animatronic with the Mandalorian.
Totally works.
But he's in the bag.
Yeah, totally works.
I'm gonna assume we're gonna have one that.
I think so.
Around.
I think this is the precursor because you can make the droids move in ways that are different than making something.
It's like easier to make a robot rather than an organic creature look good, right?
Yeah, like because you're gonna make them look robotic, which is the whole thing. These things are awesome. There are 3 of them. My favorite thing that you said is online. They're trying to they're calling them like Huey, Dewey, and Louie because their colors.
The colors match Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and there's 3 of them. And so I just saw a random internet comment that like named them Huey, but like with letters and numbers.
I love it. Leet speak.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But like droid, it worked really well. It looked like a droid number, but that's like cool. Huey, Louie, and Dewey with
that's awesome.
0s and 3s and stuff.
I love it.
Dashes.
That's really cool. Anyway, these are so cool. I've seen like some videos online and yeah, just like awesome. The other addition we have is we do have Obi and Loki are back, of course, in Avengers Campus, which is exciting until you have walking droids in Galaxy's Edge. And then it's yeah. You said you have news.
I do. Well, okay, so we're going back to the negative. Last week we talked about how the writer's strike had been settled, and I figured that it was only a matter of time till the SAG side of things would be also settled. Doesn't appear to be the case.
Oh.
The last I heard is negotiations have broke off because the 2 sides are too far apart. So I don't know what's going on there, but not great.
No, that's not good.
No.
I thought that was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I don't know. So we got writers now, but no actors.
No actors to act out what is being written. Interesting.
I think you're going to see a lot of stuff being shot over in England now, because they are a different union,
right?
So
interesting. Okay.
So maybe at least we'll get another season of House of the Dragon.
Yeah. It's over there.
It's over there. Okay. So yeah, I don't know.
You know what? I love my classic lit British period pieces. Maybe we'll get some more of those or something. I don't know.
So that's kind of a bummer. And that's going to impact a lot. Like Star Wars and Marvel have like content pipelines that they're trying to set up. Marvel more so, obviously.
Yeah, but still Star Wars.
Still Star Wars, especially the Filoni-verse now.
Yep. Which we could probably talk about in this episode. So.
Exactly. But another bummer is those shows. Well, Star Wars has been pretty successful with their shows. There's been some down notes. A lot of people didn't like Boba Fett, and some people were a little down on Obi-Wan. But for the most part, the Disney Plus series of Star Wars have been a highlight. They haven't had as much success with the movies.
Right. Well, yeah.
In the realm of public perception, anyway, whatever. But since WandaVision, I think Marvel TV series have been having problems, and they've recognized this. The latest example of this, Secret Invasion is widely panned, and
Yeah.
it was like what look forward to Samuel L. Jackson getting a star treatment, and the series was quite a bit of a mess.
Yep.
They didn't focus on the right things. Apparently, production was just terrible
Can't say
time.
I'm surprised because
All these disasters, and
we have an episode talking about our problems with it.
Yeah,
it's probably our most negatively reviewed Marvel series.
It was a pretty big disappointment. And the first 2 episodes were like pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had a really cool spy show that focused on kind of like a Mission Impossible style. Who's real? Who's not? Like, you could have done really cool. It was.
Go listen to our episode because we talk about that a lot.
Anyway, so that was a bummer. There's been some good ones. Like I liked Ms. Marvel.
I liked Ms. Marvel
and things like that. She-Hulk.
I liked She-Hulk. Not to say that it was without problems, like any of these actually, but I liked it.
Yeah, but She-Hulk had apparently a terrible production drama as well. A showrunner, writer feud and
issues
back and forth and reshoots, blah 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 blah. Lots of problems like this. The latest victim of these problems is the new Daredevil series.
Oh no!
Apparently they had shot about half the episodes. It's going to be a long season, or was planned to be a long season.
I remember hearing that, yeah.
Like 18 episodes or something like that. They had shot about half before the strike started and halted production. And so then Kevin Feige and like the rest of the producer brain trust got to see the series partially complete and said, absolutely not.
What?
And they've fired the writers.
What?
And they're kind of starting from scratch. They figure they're going to maybe use some of the footage, but they're going to completely change the show.
Do we know why?
They said it was poorly paced, no vision. Like apparently he doesn't. They focused a lot more on the courtroom side of things.
I was gonna say no vision. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
good pun. He's in the courtroom a lot, and he doesn't suit up as Daredevil until like the 4th episode or something like that. Anyway, apparently it was really bad. The writers have been fired, the showrunner's been fired or something, and they're doing it over.
Not Murdoch.
Showrunner.
Oh, okay.
Not the star.
Not the star.
No, the actors are still gonna
the actors are okay.
Gonna still be there. Yeah, you got Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are they're still on board. And I still have hope, but anyway, apparently they've come to the conclusion that their original plan of making TV shows on Disney Plus with the same style that they do movies doesn't work for TV.
It doesn't.
Their philosophy was, let's just make like long movies.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. They
because the pacing gets all wonky.
The pacing gets wonky. They were foregoing having pilots,
right,
and doing the traditional TV greenlight process, and it led to a lot of messes. And so they're going back, and they're apparently all future TV series, Marvel, I don't know about Star Wars, but Marvel specifically, that I was reading, this was like in Variety or something.
Okay.
Are going to go through a more traditional like network TV piloting production process.
Okay. That's interesting.
Trying to merge the Marvel philosophy with more traditional TV creation. I don't know. I would be curious to see how HBO makes TV, because they're like the gold standard for elevated TV.
That's true.
And they more often than not have pretty good series that come out of it.
Yep. That's interesting.
So yeah, kind of a bummer on the Marvel front.
Yeah.
Because they've been having problems. Like Armor Wars was supposed to be a TV series, and that's apparently going to be a movie now, and who knows if that'll ever get made. And
Echo
is apparently filmed, but they're dumping it all at once.
Not a good sign.
Not a good sign at
all. And
then,
I mean, a lot of the rearranging and stuff like that was also because of the strikes. I understand that, but there's also like it's tough because I love the world. I know a lot of people are being like, I'm kind of done with it. And changing stuff up is good. I think WandaVision was extremely successful, but by the nature of that style of show, they did follow TV format.
Well, they followed TV format. They didn't. They just went for it, but that had a good hook to it, and it also came out at the right time.
Totally.
And people were. It was still full pandemic time. People were living on that show week to week.
And it was the first Marvel show. Like, there wasn't this.
Anyway, that was excellent. They've kind of lost their way, and a lot of people are tired of Marvel in general. Endgame was an easy jumping off point.
Yep.
And
there's been a lot of problems since then.
There's been some really good movies. Like, I really like Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
And I really like Shang-Chi, but there is still, it's not the original Avengers anymore, and so a lot of people are like, why should I care?
Right, and then other things they did, like, I liked Black Widow. It was very, like, kind of meh in the world.
Not a great movie.
But, no, I said it was very meh in the world. But it was nowhere near as bad as, say, like, Iron Man 2. But we all ignore Iron Man 2 because we were, like, still invested. Yeah. And so we kind of gave the whole world a chance. And then it led to, like, a very crescendoing in Infinity War and Endgame. So whereas now it's kind of, they're trying to build again. And then, of course, we have the Kang situation going on.
Yes, and there's still no resolution to that.
Exactly.
But I don't know. He's of course in Loki season 2. So.
He is, but there's a whole lot of question marks with Marvel right now. Yeah. I still like it. I still like the stories. It's hard to go from such a high to a lower low. But like, I like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But again, people are also way more critical with these things now. During pandemic, we were all like, give me content. We sat around and watched Tiger King. Let's just remember that.
That is true. As
a society,
that is a very good point.
We did that, and now we're like criticizing, tiny things. Relatively tiny.
There's
things.
Legitimate and well-founded criticism of some of the stuff that Disney's been doing.
Totally.
They've been really dropping the ball with all the Lucasfilm properties.
Yeah. And I totally do believe that. I also think like the audience is different.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, at least it's not DC. That's all I can say.
But totally true.
Just go look up the drama that's coming.
Oh my God.
Being talked about with the Aquaman 2 coming out shortly.
I can't even believe there is an Aquaman 2.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I will say the Flash movie was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very it's not better than 90% of the Marvel movies.
Oh yeah, well, and that was the thing. They were hyping it up to be this great.
And it's one of the better DC movies.
Yeah, but that's a low bar.
Since before the whole shared universe thing that they've been trying to do, and it was super. It was in the bottom tier of Marvel level.
Yeah, I would
as
say
a comparison.
For sure.
So
okay. We have not gotten to our main topic yet. Do we want to jump there, or do we have any other news?
No, I think we've rambled on long enough. Let's go talk about our... Speaking of introducing new characters and making them relevant...
yeah. Ahsoka.
Here's a good example.
Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus and chill.
Okay, Brandon, it's spooky season.
It is.
But we're having an episode about Ahsoka. Please explain to me. First, no, stop. Don't explain anything to me yet. Spoiler warning. Very big spoiler warning.
Yeah, we're going to talk about everything, and too bad.
Okay. Now, explain to me how Ahsoka is part of spooky season.
Well, it's very easy. It's the spookiest Star Wars I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You got witches.
Yep, check.
You got zombies.
Check.
What else? What else did I say? We got witches and zombies. We got
and ghosts.
And there's ghosts. Yeah, of course.
Force ghosts. There's a Force ghost situation going on. Yeah, That seems pretty spooky to me. The Witches is like super cool, actually.
I'm so glad that we're getting the Witches of Dathomir in live action now.
They're so
That
cool.
was one of my favorite tangents in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I
totally
really
agree.
like that backstory. And if
Agree.
you don't know and you're not going to go sit and watch a 7-season cartoon, basically the Dathomir is the home planet of Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. And they had an interesting society where the women were the ruling class and they all lived together in their little coven and they had force magic. Mm-hmm. It was a type of force, but they weren't Sith, they weren't Jedi, and they
were their own thing.
They had their own thing, still the force. Anyway, they were able to do some cool stuff like raise the dead and imbue things, some of their male counterparts with power, but the men lived off in their own village and were kind of like treated as second-class citizens. Kind of cool.
It was a totally different society, which was very cool.
And so they gave Darth Maul and his brother powers.
Yeah, that's how Darth Maul became Darth Maul.
Yeah, and I loved that tangent.
Me too.
It was kind of dumb how they brought Darth Maul back from the dead, but
but that was just because people like Darth Maul and they were
but
like,
that's because they
they
wasted Darth Maul in the movie,
Totally.
and they gave him a cool story after, so I'll forgive the kind of lame lame resurrection bit, but whatever. So I'm glad to see them in this series.
They're so cool.
It's very cool.
And I liked the way they were depicted in live action.
It is nice to expand the lore outside of Jedi and Sith in the Star Wars universe, and I think we could do that more.
Totally.
And I think that's what the sequel trilogy was super missing, was kind of just regurgitating.
Yeah, I think we've discussed that. They got scared and they're like, we'll do this same thing again because people like it.
Yeah.
But
they played it safe and actually ruined it that way. But
but there's some really cool moments in here. So we're saying spooky. Okay. Let's do very quick, very short summary and then discuss opinions and highs and lows and all that fun stuff. Okay. So Ahsoka, 8 episodes. I don't know, was Mandalorian 8 episodes?
I think so.
It's about that?
Yeah.
Okay,
unpause. I got myself a refill, and now what I'm drinking has changed.
Okay, what are you
being
drinking?
very Canadian now, and having a Caesar on a Sunday morning.
That is very Canadian.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a Caesar and a Bloody Mary?
Well, it's the juice, of course.
Explain.
You use Clamato juice instead of just straight tomato juice to make a Caesar.
I like Bloody Marys better. I tell people that, and they think you're crazy.
Well, that's kind of like saying you don't like hockey in Canada. You get funny looks if you say you don't like.
I know,
Caesar.
it's true, but the funny thing is, think about that phrase. We drink it with clam juice. Like, nothing about that sounds appetizing.
Clamato.
Yeah, okay, but what is the clam part of the Clamato?
Well, you mix tomato with clam. Anyway, I like both Bloody Marys and Caesars.
So I was part of like a Finland exchange with our school, and when the teachers come, we try and give them all the Canadian things. We give them all dressed chips and ketchup chips and poutine, of course, and all those things. And we tell them about Caesars, and they thought we were joking.
Okay. I've seen their pickled herring.
Pickled herring. People who eat pickled herring for fun think that you're crazy for drinking Caesars.
Yeah, they don't have a hill to stand on with that.
Eating fish is better than drinking clam juice.
That the horrible smelling.
I'm not doing either. So
pickled the. Oh.
So you're being very Canadian right now, is what you're saying.
I am, yeah.
And apparently it was invented in a nearby city.
Calgary.
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to your regularly scheduled Ahsoka content.
Deal. So we have, like we said, 8 episodes.
It basically picks up it seems like a couple years after the events of the end of Rebels season 5. Or no, season 4. Is there 4 seasons of Rebels?
There's 5.
Anyway.
Oh no, this is supposed to be like season 5.
It's basically Rebels. Rebels was the other cartoon
after Clone Wars.
Similar style to Clone Wars, also run by Dave Filoni, and it followed this group of rebels as they helped overthrow the Empire in the background of the between. It's kind of takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I think. Rebels. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of at the same time period as the original trilogy,
right? And
when
they
the
meet
Empire's at a height, and
yes, and they meet up with Ahsoka, Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars, who is amazing. And she didn't start that way, I know. We saw her also in, was that season 2 of Mandalorian?
Yeah,
and season 3, and what Mando season 2.5, which was the Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, yeah, she was in that episode as well, at Luke's little like, burgeoning academy that nothing ever will go wrong at, ever.
Nothing. It's totally fine.
No, she was a rebel agent named Fulcrum in the Rebel series. And
very cool.
Yeah, kind of cool. Interesting. It's interesting. It's also kind of tough. It's like, where actually was she during the movies? She could have been a little bit more helpful in that. But, these things, she didn't exist until 2008. That's why. But
I feel like they're, I don't know, like, we'll talk about where this is going after the season, and I feel like they are hopefully going to answer those questions.
But this is after, so this takes place after Rebels. The Empire has been overthrown. Luke has blown up the second Death Star. Anakin's dead, helping to throw the Emperor down the big tube, and and he's gone forever. Nothing could possibly bring him back.
Yeah, totally.
Somehow. And now the New Republic is in place, and as a giant bureaucratic entity, there's probably no problems there either.
Probably none whatsoever. My favorite thing was a meme, and it was the moment in where Yoda and Force Obi-Wan are talking, and it's like, no, there is another, and it's like alluding to Leia, of course, in the movies, but it's like, oh yeah, Ahsoka, we should probably call her in on this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's run through each of these episodes, just super short, to give like the overall what's going on in this. So episode 1 is called Master and Apprentice, and which
is a big theme of this show.
Yes, and that I was gonna say, and that's an overarching motif throughout. And you have a question as to who the Master and Apprentice are, because we are introduced to, well, more than one Master and Apprentice. We see Ahsoka again, and she connects with Sabine Wren, who is from Rebels. And we find out that in the time between the end of Rebels and the beginning of Ahsoka actually trained Sabine kind of as her apprentice, which is interesting because she was not Force sensitive prior to that.
No, so we haven't seen all of Rebels. We got to know the characters before Ahsoka started, but there was a fair bit of content, and we were busy and whatnot. So I don't know exactly how it went, but there is parts of Rebels where Ahsoka is training Sabine as well, specifically with the Darksaber.
Yes.
But yeah, Sabine's a Mandalorian. She has the full Mando kit.
You bet.
She was raised on Mandalore, I believe. I don't know. We haven't gotten that far in the Rebels series, so we're not experts there. But so she was training her a little bit there, but yeah, very clearly not Force sensitive at all.
That's part of one of the themes of one of the overarching stumbling blocks for her.
And with so much of Star Wars, like especially the unfortunate plot twists of the sequel trilogy, so much of Star Wars being like bloodlines and everyone's related to everyone, and like only the Skywalkers can be cool Force people.
Yeah, I liked that. Sabine is like,
no, like changing that on its head is a good thing. Like
totally.
that was one of my favorite parts of The Last Jedi, was that they were showing that like it wasn't always about a dynasty, and the Force works in mysterious ways, and a little kid with a broom could be the next Jedi.
I agree. That moment was great, by the way, like half a second or whatever.
And then they fumbled the ball on the 5-yard line.
Totally.
Anyway.
That's why when everyone was like all annoyed when he says they were no one when they're talking to Rey, I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah,
do that.
It was good.
Do that.
There was definitely huge problems with The Last Jedi, but the overall
that was good.
Theme of it was really good. And anyway,
yeah.
I'm gonna stop going back. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're following Ahsoka. It's her show, but actually we're really following Sabine most of the time now.
Okay, but we also meet another Master and Apprentice. Do you want to explain these guys?
Sure.
Well, we actually meet them first.
They get a really cool entrance.
They do.
Very Star Warsy. They dock their ship and they come all cloaked. It's so there's a very famous quote, George Lucas, when he's shooting the prequel trilogy, and he says Star Wars, it's like poetry, it rhymes.
Okay.
You see people saying that all the time on Star Wars message boards and stuff like that. And this scene is very, very similar to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon at the beginning of Phantom Menace. Right. Master and apprentice come on a ship and they start talking, and then the lightsabers come out, right? Mm-hmm. They are on an old Jedi ship, but they aren't Jedi.
No. And they say that, which, again, it rhymes. It echoes, apparently, this very famous line from Ahsoka in Rebels, is she says, "I am no Jedi."
Yeah.
And
because
she's not.
She quit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because right away we're drawing these parallels.
Yeah. So that's really cool. But they're also not Sith. They don't have red lightsabers.
Nope,
they're orange,
which was a purposeful choice, obviously.
Very purposeful,
because neither of them are Samuel L. Jackson, so they don't get a weird color just because they want a weird color.
They want it, and we get to see them kick some butt and kill some folks and get the MacGuffin of the episode. But they are very cool. It's Baylan Skoll and Shin
Hattie, I think is how we say it.
Yeah. So
Shin and Baylan.
And if you didn't know, Dave Filoni is obsessed with wolves, and a lot of his characters are named something wolves.
Wolf-esque.
But Skoll and Hattie are Norse mythological wolves.
That's so cool.
And basically, I think in Norse mythology, they chase the sun and the moon around the sky, is how it works. Actually,
cool.
World of Warcraft pulls from that mythology as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff with Skoll and Hattie.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Kind of cool. I like when popular culture pulls from
I do too.
myth.
I do too.
Yeah, as a basis, and
like really old literature. Like I like those references.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
there's an episode title I'm going to talk about like that.
Those names are pretty cool, and they're pretty cool characters, and it's cool to set up a nice new villain. A gray area villain that you don't. More interesting than the mustache twirling.
Totally, but can we discuss how freaking awesome both of these guys? This is first of all, but Baylan's character.
Yeah, so let's get the elephant out of the room.
Okay, all right, let's do it now. Since we met them, they had a very cool opening. Let's discuss Baylan.
Baylan, very imposing figure. He's throughout the series very important character, played by the actor Ray Stevenson, who unfortunately before the series came out passed away. So he was known for a few things. Apparently, he was very good in the series Rome. Oh,
okay. I knew he was in it.
Yeah. Anyway, he was probably the best part of this series.
And that is not when we're like trying to find something good. Like this, let's just say this series was really good. Like I really liked it. So if we're saying he's probably the best part, that's just saying he was amazing.
He brought an incredible presence to every scene he was in, and you just wanted to know more about what he was thinking and what he's doing, and
that means
the series. I assumed that they were gonna kill him off.
I thought so too.
Maybe that even if that wasn't the original plan, they
we got to do something here because
But he's so clearly important to the story going forward. I don't know what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna have to recast.
Which is going to be...
I feel sorry for whoever they decide. But his story ended on a literal cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's true.
He's literally standing on a cliff.
In episode 8, he really is. I swear, all through episode 8, I thought they were going to kill him off.
Yeah, or ride off into the sunset with some sort of closure. I don't know.
Or something where we're we're going to leave him riding off in the sunset so we can hopefully people forget about him over the next 10 years.
But yeah, so again, this... We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but this story does not conclude at the end of this season.
Right.
Which is hinting towards either a season 2, hopefully, or
the movie
beginning picked up again as part of the Mandoverse the Filoniverse if they're gonna just jump straight into the movie after another
Maybe.
couple seasons
Yeah.
of something else. I don't know, but with that actor passing away, I don't know.
I don't know, because they were setting him up to be. There's also we've talked before about how we watch like New Rock Stars. We recommend that, and the one's like, honestly, I think they had all this footage from everyone, and he was just so amazing that they're like, we're gonna include as much of him as possible because we know we'll never get it again.
He's in like. I will say this series is the most Star Wars-y Star Wars that I've seen in quite a while.
And we saw Obi-Wan and Vader do a lightsaber battle, which was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
But as a whole series, yeah.
The series just, it feels like old school Star Wars to
Yeah.
me.
I've heard of that from a lot of people.
Like I really liked Rogue One and I really liked Andor.
I did too.
Those were Star Wars-y, but with a different spin on it, which I like too. Mm-hmm. I like doing a different spin, but
Me
this
too.
one was like
Very
just like
yeah.
pure, straight from the source.
Which is hard because in the past when they've tried to do that, they end up just repeating.
Regurgitating.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going here. So we meet Balin and we meet Hattie, and we find out that they've taken a prisoner who from the New Republic custody, and then we find out that this is a prisoner we have seen before if we watch Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah, so when we first meet Ahsoka with Mando, they have a very samurai-y
Totally.
kung fu style episode, and she fights this lady who has the spear that's made out of Beskar, and it has a really really cool fight scene. The actress that plays this character is actually a pretty prolific martial artist, and her
that's cool.
father was the trainer to Bruce Lee.
No way.
Yeah,
That is so
she has
cool.
some like serious pedigree that way.
Morgan Elspeth is the character. The name of the actress, as I was just looking up because you were saying this, Diana Lee Inosanto. Interesting.
Yeah, so her choreography, both in the Mando season and at the end of this season, is next level. Like Rosario Dawson is an actress, very good actress. She's not a martial artist.
Right.
She does the best she can. She trained really hard
Yep.
and does some really cool stuff. Like Ahsoka's a cool character and
Totally.
has like cool fight scenes,
Yes.
but it's tough to translate that to live action.
Yeah.
Like she originated in the cartoons. And
Yep.
you do really cool stuff with animation.
Really can.
Some of the best lightsaber fights are in the animation, like because you can do different
like whatever. In
different
there.
stuff
Yeah.
in animations. She does her best, but yeah, not a martial artist.
No.
So yeah.
Okay. So we meet them. We find out they've taken her, and they are after trying to find Thrawn. So who's Thrawn? I know we're spending a lot of time with episode 1, but this is like backstory stuff. So who's Thrawn?
Well, he was in Rebels.
Yep.
But actually, he's from the old expanded universe. The original sequel trilogy was a set of novels by a guy named Timothy Zahn, and it was called the Heir to the Empire series. And Thrawn was basically this admiral in the Imperial Navy that is like a certified genius,
Right.
tactical genius, and he basically picks up the reins of the Empire to bring order back to the galaxy. In those novels, he's worried about a threat from another galaxy or something, this crazy thing, so he wants to unite everyone through fear and murder. But
Right.
he's a cool character,
Again, not force sensitive, just really, really smart.
really really smart, and also an alien, which is unusual because most of the Imperials are human.
Right. He's humanoid though.
Because of course the Imperial whole ideology is very based on Nazism, all the symbolism and all that. So yeah, a lot of white British dudes in the Empire, and that's on purpose. But yeah, he's a blue guy with red eyes, from a different system outside of
That's cool.
normal Star Wars space. The Chiss Empire he's from, I guess. I don't know.
He's his own
I've
thing.
never actually read the books. And
We read the first part.
so that was like a spin-off that we listened
okay.
to. That wasn't the original.
Okay.
It was kind of like a prequel, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
But very cool character, and it's very cool to see him actually brought back into canon now. he was like a big part of Rebels. That we haven't gotten to that part yet, but yeah, I really like Thrawn as a character. I'm hoping that they continue to build on him. He had some cool lines in this, but he also didn't get to really...
Yeah, he was not the focus.
He was not the focus. He was only in the last couple episodes. Yeah. He didn't really get to show his tactical brilliance very much at all.
Just like hinted at. Again, well acted, well cast and everything. But because of... So we find out they're trying to bring...
Well, interestingly, he's played by the same guy that voiced him in Rebels.
Yes. Yeah, they did that a couple times.
Yeah, they did.
We find out that they're trying to bring back Thrawn, and Ahsoka figures this out, and she goes to find... she and her droid... We say the droid? What's his name?
Hugh Long? Something like that?
Something like that. Played by David Tennant. Voiced by David Tennant.
Yeah, it's just...
Who's amazing.
It's just... it's David
Droid David Tennant.
Droid David Tennant, yeah.
So they...
Also from Clone Wars.
That's true.
There's a very cool episode about training... Padawans to build their lightsaber, and he's like the lightsaber building droid.
And so we find out that this droid has now been traveling around with Ahsoka and speaks to Hera, again from Rebels. Hera was kind of like the matriarch of this little band of rebels. She was the pilot, who is amazing also. And we know that she has a... Okay, very quick backstory on Rebels. Because in order to know... Here's part of the thing with this. The first few episodes were like... Are you going to understand who any of these people are if you haven't seen any Rebels?
And you don't. So
but I also want to talk about that when we get to the end, and we're really only in episode 1 here, and we've been recording an hour.
So, well, yeah, we also had a big pause. But anyway, if you don't want to watch Rebels, which I could understand, it's a lot of content, and maybe a children's cartoon isn't for you. I do that in quotes because it's...
Not a children's.
It's not really it's Star Wars, whatever. It's really cool, but if you don't want to watch it, you can probably find a 20-minute recap on YouTube that'll give you enough to watch.
We're not going to recap everything, but we know Hera is from Rebels. She was the pilot. She is now part of the New Republic and very high ranking, and she is still in contact with Ahsoka. She is general, yes. We also know that her partner was a Jedi before, and he's the one who trained someone named Ezra Bridger. Ezra and Sabine.
You mean Space Aladdin.
Space Aladdin. Very true. Sabine and Ezra. So, like, Rebels at the beginning, we follow Ezra mostly. And they're, like, but close to the same age. So they were really close friends.
Yeah, it's kind of like a family, like a messed up family. You got mom and dad and the 2 kids and then the weird uncle.
Yeah, who's kind of like a younger uncle.
And then the war crimes droid for some reason.
Apparently. Who is in this? Everyone who loves Chopper, you're probably a little messed up, but there's a lot of you, so that also says something. And Chopper is in this series.
He committed very little war crimes in this series, and everyone was disappointed.
I know. They're like, this is very Chopper-like. But anyway, so that's kind of like the backstory. So Hera basically tells Ahsoka, like, go find someone. We meet Sabine hanging out on Loth, which is...
That's where Ezra was from. And that was kind of their base of operations for a lot of the Rebels series.
Yes, and we get a cool Loth cat. People love Loth cats.
They are cute.
They are super cute. So we do find we have a reunion between Ahsoka and Sabine. We get a little bit of the story about, like, Ahsoka started to train her. Something did not work out. It was not good. So Sabine left, and she's kind of like disconnected from everyone, doing her own thing. She does keep watching a recording of Ezra basically like saying goodbye to her, because at the end of Rebels, Ezra basically sacrifices himself to take Thrawn out of the system. And
with Force Whales.
With Force Whales.
Yeah.
And so they kind of think that they're both lost forever. But she's like, if they're trying to find Thrawn, they must think there's a way. And if they can find Thrawn, we can probably find Ezra. So we need to stop them finding Thrawn. Maybe find Ezra. So Ahsoka comes to Sabine, convinces her to help.
Because there's a little map, and Sabine's kind of thing is she's like a technical wizard.
Yeah.
As well as good at shooting stuff, because she's Mandalorian. But yeah, she was always like kind of the mechanic.
Yeah.
Kind of
she can figure it out.
Similar character to Kaylee from Firefly.
Love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, good combination. Yeah. Okay. So things go badly, basically. Because Ahsoka took this map, and Baylan and Hattie want the map. And so they go, and basically apprentices square off, and Sabine gets stabbed through the gut with a lightsaber. But Ahsoka and they take the map, but Ahsoka shows up and in the nick of time, and she gets fixed basically.
Yeah, I feel bad for Qui-Gon because apparently getting stabbed in the chest with a lightsaber isn't really that
Unless you're Liam Neeson.
that lethal. He might have been stabbed like 5 years too early.
Yeah.
The medical technology have progressed or something.
It's a lot in 5 years. Well, through
there's
the
war.
war.
There's lots of examples.
War has always had huge medical advancements during wartime.
Yeah, so Clone Wars.
Lightsaber stabbings.
Lightsaber stabbings were fixed up a little bit in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, so like
headcanon.
American Civil War, it was things like washing hands. And you had things like that's where anesthetic and stuff like that came from different places. In Star Wars, Clone Wars, lightsaber stabbings through the chest or gut in this case. Yeah, we fixed it.
I could see that. I mean, you had Count Dooku and General Grievous out there stabbing lots of clones with the lightsaber.
Yeah,
so they could
makes sense. It's totally logical.
Poor Qui-Gon. He's sitting there in his Force Ghost. He's like,
come on.
What?
Come on.
What? Oh.
Okay, so we discover, and Sabine decides to join up with Ahsoka. She wants to go find Ezra. She's not concerned about Thrawn, but her focus is definitely let's find Ezra.
She don't care about Thrawn at all. She wants to see her best buddy Ezra.
Yeah.
Who they're kind of retconning into a brother-sister role, even though there was like some romantic tension.
There was, but I think as the series went on in Rebels, less so. So episode 2 is called Toil and Trouble. My favorite episode title. Yes, because we meet witches. And Toil and Trouble, for anyone who's like needs the obvious spelt out for them, is from Macbeth.
Yeah. The best Shakespeare play of all time.
That is not true. But one of the coolest scenes is the Song of the Witches from, well, actually, the first one is when they are saying something wicked this way comes, and then Macbeth shows up, but that's very cool. But the witches are always the best part of Macbeth. Okay? But they are very famous as Double, Double, Toil and Trouble. Fire, burn, and cauldron bubble. And then they have their little... And then everyone doesn't remember the rest. The rest is the recipe for the spell they're doing. Yeah, in case you're wondering.
Anyway, yes, best Shakespeare play with witches. Yeah.
Not, well... also probably, well, maybe the best Shakespeare play with witches.
No, those were two separate sentences. Nope. It's the best Shakespeare play, period.
Nope.
And it also
not
has witches.
Not even in the top 3.
Nah. I mean, you can be wrong. That's fine.
I've read a lot more Shakespeare than you have.
I've read a fair amount.
I've read more.
Well, yeah, I would hope so. It is your job. But I've read a fair amount, and I know most of them, and it is the best one.
Not even.
Hamlet's super overrated.
Hamlet is very overrated. Do not get me started on Hamlet.
Okay, anyway, moving on.
I literally have students that are like, when they want to get me off track so we don't have to do something, they'll be like, Mac, do you have any opinions about Hamlet? I'm like, I know what you're doing, but yes, I do. Okay, very overrated. Anyway, also ghosts in that one, or a ghost in that one.
Yeah.
All right. So this one, Ahsoka and General Hera travel to the New Republic shipyards, and they make an unexpected discovery. This episode should just be called "The New Republic's Not Working."
Yeah,
as a subtitle.
And it makes perfect sense. There's a lot of real world examples of this. Well, look at Germany rebuilding after World War I. Wars are devastating, and a galactic-wide government isn't gonna. It's gonna be very prone to corruption, and especially if you're using old fascist.
Yeah,
leaders.
but Brandon, they promised not to be fascist anymore.
They said, I pinky promise not to be fascist anymore. Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Totally.
Wow.
And then especially when they're off in the corner of the galaxy where no one's really paying
with
any attention,
oversight,
with no oversight whatsoever. Nothing bad is possibly going to happen in this scenario. Shockingly, seriously, are you ready for this? They were corrupt.
What? No
I
way.
know. I'm seriously.
So, I mean, all joking aside, this actually makes sense. You have a lot of systems to govern. You don't have the peace. You were rebels, right? Literally, it was the Rebel Alliance. Transitioning that to a new galactic government is going to be very difficult.
Totally.
You don't have the bodies in place, and it gives good seeds as to why something like the First Order would arise.
Well, that is one thing I think does really well with this. It's like, we know we're going here and we know we started here. There's got to be like in between.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I wish the sequel trilogy would have been about, where the New Republic is in power and the bad guys, quote unquote, are the rebels now.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more of that,
Yeah.
because it could have worked really well. Anyway,
Totally.
I'm going to stop talking about the sequel trilogy now.
It's hard because this does lead into, right?
Dave Filoni's again trying to fix the movies.
Yeah, no, it's true. With Clone Wars, he fixed the prequels, which needed more fixing than the sequels, in my opinion. But
yes and no, but
now he's like, okay, guys, give me
yeah.
give me some
So
time
anyway,
here.
we
It took
see
a lot of years.
corrupt government. That's
Yep.
that's episode 2 main thing. Yep.
And then this is also where they like Sabine. Yes, I'm going with Ahsoka. She makes a decision. You also get a little bit more backstory here. She's chatting with Dave Tennant robot, Dave Tennant droid, and we find out that she's not. And he says, like, I trained Jedi. You never would have been picked.
Yeah. Okay. So this scene is hilarious. He's like, yeah, you're kind of useless. Your midichlorian count is nothing, basically, is what he's saying. I saw the funniest meme. So like the Commodore from Pirates,
Yes.
where he's like, "You're the worst pirate I've ever seen." Well,
Yeah.
I saw,
But you have heard of me.
Hugh Long,
Yeah.
photoshopped into that scene is like, "You were the worst Jedi I've ever heard of."
And then she goes, but you have heard
No,
of me.
just that. It's like, you were without a doubt the worst Jedi I've ever heard of.
That's basically what that is.
Yeah.
But then he's also like, because all of that, and then he's like, have you kept up with your training? And she's like, clearly not, because you just got stabbed through. So there's also this little bit of like screw you, you think I
Yeah.
right? So they take off to Ahsoka and Sabine are going to take off to a distant planet to try and track down Baylan and Hattie. So then that takes us to part 3, which is called Time to Fly. And basically, as bridging this, Hera has to convince New Republic politicians that this was not an isolated incident and that Thrawn could come back. And they're all like, no.
Yeah, so you got Mon Mothma seems to be like the leader of this New Republic Senate committee or whatever it is, because it's there's only like 5 of them or whatever, but it's still a democracy, and there's some maybe shadier senators on the squad there, and
At best incompetent, at worst corrupt.
yeah, so it's interesting to see a little bit of political stuff.
Without going full political.
Yeah.
They're just understanding that Hera now is not a rebel anymore. She has to play by these rules because she's this general. But
I like
the rules,
it.
I do too, because it's like, oh yeah, no, that's like a reality in here. And then they say, no, you can't go do this. And she's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm going to do it anyway. And you also understand that through this, and then again later, Mothma is still like, she believes, but they're all voting.
Her hands are tied, and well, I mean, she risked a lot as a rebel as well, Mon Mothma. So
Yep.
she gets it. But and then we also get to meet up again with Kim's Convenience,
Totally.
X-wing fighter.
I love that he's getting more and more important just because he just like
He's the Agent Coulson of Star Wars now.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
He's Agent Coulson. I like it. We end up on this planet, which is beautiful and very like autumnal, if I do say so myself. I keep saying everything's autumnal. There's red trees.
There's red trees, yeah.
Yeah, and space whales.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, but like that's from this planet. That's what's known for.
It's one of their migratory spots.
Totally. And that kind of takes us part 3 and into part 4. So Hera in part 4 is like, I'm just going to go help them anyway. So she takes off, and Ahsoka and Sabine are on this planet, and they are going to try and basically they're trying to catch up with. I keep saying, is it Hattie or Hattie?
Hattie?
And Baylan, as they are.
I don't know. I don't speak Norse. So.
No, me neither. And Morgan, because we know that they are endeavoring to go find and track down Thrawn to bring him back.
Yeah, so they kind of follow they put a tracker, and that's how they know to go to this planet, and then they find the big space ring under construction.
Yes, and like almost done under construction.
Right, which is why they had gone to the shipyard in the first place because they were like stealing the warp drives. Anyway, they had to build this big thing, multiple warp drives, and that the big ring has big guns and shoots them, and that's why they have to land on the planet.
Okay, yes. And then once we are on the planet now in part 4, which is called Fallen Jedi, we're basically like in a race against time.
Yeah, the bad guys have the map. We don't want them to have the map, so we have to go fight them. And they have a cool chase scene through the forest and get some cool fight stuff.
And you do have apprentice versus apprentice and master versus master in this one. Some of the coolest lightsaber fight scenes and like.
So we didn't talk about it, but there was also this like masked former Inquisitor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Man.
Yeah, so that was like a big mystery in the first couple of episodes. They're like people had all these theories about who this mask has like the circle spinny saber like the Inquisitors had. Not a really satisfying conclusion to that.
Nope.
But
clearly, because I was like, oh yeah.
this Inquisitor Morok or something like that. Ahsoka super kills him.
Definitely.
And
we get to see Ahsoka go all Ahsoka-y.
Yeah, and he kind of explodes into a green mist.
Yeah. Interesting.
Alluding to Night Sister magic, because that's Night Sister magic. So,
that's cool.
So it could have been a resurrected Inquisitor.
Ties into later.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it was kind of foreshadowing that, but like never came to the mystery. Never came to anything. It wasn't up. It wasn't.
It was kind of like, oh yeah, and that happened. So part 4, halfway through here, is called Fallen Jedi, and that is because we have Sabine fighting Hattie, and we also have Ahsoka fighting Baylan, kinda, but they're trying to get the map, and then it's like counting down, right? As we get on...
Play a little bit of hot potato with
the everything.
The space, with the Space Stone orb.
But as part of this...
the map
yes,
looks like the Space Stone orb from Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, yeah.
As, towards the end, Ahsoka is...
She gets yeeted off the cliff.
Yeah, and seems like she's dead. Of course, we know she's not because we're halfway through.
The show is named after her. Her plot armor is going to be pretty thick.
Totally. And Sabine is left with Baylan and Hattie, and he says, "You won't be harmed. We'll take you with us."
Well, and Ahsoka has told Sabine to destroy the map so they can't get Thrawn. But then, of course, you also can't meet Ezra ever again. Then.
Exactly. And and Sabine had sworn to do this. She's standing there with the map, basically. And he says, give it to me. No harm will come to you. And we'll take you to come meet your friend. So meet Ezra. So she does hand over the map to do that. And then she's basically becomes a prisoner, goes on the ship with Morgan. And these two, they finish giant space ring. And off they go.
Just as Hera arrives, they kind of blow past her. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Episode 5 is called Shadow Warrior because most of this is actually about Ahsoka.
Finally, Ahsoka gets an Ahsoka episode in this show called Ahsoka. What is it with these? I've liked most of the Disney Star Wars, Disney Plus Star Wars shows, but it seems like the main character is always a side character in their own show.
It does seem like that a lot of the time.
Like Boba Fett was
the worst.
The coolest character in Mandalorian, but then when it came to the Boba Fett show, the Mandalorian was the coolest character.
And even in season 1 of Mando, which was the most episodic and the most focused on Mandalorian, I'm sorry, Grogu was the main character of that. Let's just be 100% honest.
I mean, he came in he came in as a surprise and
totally
was
but also so much of it is him trying to figure out Grogu's story.
Yeah,
right.
He was Grogu was the MacGuffin of that season, and whatever.
Okay. Anyway, Shadow Warrior, Ahsoka. This is a really cool episode because Ahsoka's kind of in the water, and she meets up in this weird realm, like the Shadow Realm.
It's so again, you have to watch Rebels. It's called the World Between Worlds.
Yes, and she meets Anakin as Anakin there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of this is
also this episode is the one that was limited release in theaters.
Yeah, this is the episode. It itches a lot of scratches a lot of itches for Clone Wars fans. You get to see some live action Clone Wars stuff. You get to see Hayden Christensen acting his butt off.
No kidding. Ooh, I really liked. You also get to see some young Ahsoka as well, including like the outfit changes. The actresses who played her growing up, so good. There were like all these little tiny mannerisms that were like, the attention to detail here was fantastic.
So yeah, the actress that plays young Ahsoka from Clone Wars times, they did a really good job on her makeup too. But she actually plays young Gamora in Infinity War. Same actress.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I did hear that. Yeah, that is so cool.
But yeah, apparently,
she's like, "What color are you gonna paint me today?"
I guess. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, you need a colored alien? Okay, I got you. Young colored alien.
Young colored alien.
That's my call to fame." But apparently, she binged Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
And like honed in on that and like did a very good job.
Such a good job. Very short screen time.
Very short.
Killed it.
But it felt
perfect.
It felt like a perfect throwback to, and Hayden Christensen as well.
Oh my gosh.
Pulled off. He morphs from Clone Wars Anakin to Darth Vader and back, and just
back and forth.
The range.
So good.
So good.
Like he killed it in this. And probably a bunch of other people.
I am here for the Hayden Christensen redemption tour.
Totally, right?
Like, it's just been so good.
So good. Anyway, so good. But basically, it's Ahsoka and Hayden, and Anakin kind of like coming to terms with things. Let's just say a little bit.
And there's some discourse on whether this is all in Ahsoka's head or if this is a real thing. And given Star Wars, there's some between world stuff in Rebels. Again, we haven't seen, so not an expert. I think this is real. I think this is Anakin's Force ghost coming to teach Ahsoka her final lesson.
And that is kind of the idea behind this, right? And but he goes, oh, it's so cool. He goes Vader, and she's like not giving up. At this point, Hera is able to find her. And then we're at the end of episode 5, and she's gonna go try and track down Sabine.
And so
get saved.
The biggest hint that it's not in Ahsoka's head is one line. She says, "I don't want to fight you," and he replies, "I've heard that before."
Oh,
which is a callback to Return of the Jedi when Luke says, "I don't want to fight you."
Oh,
and of course Ahsoka would have no clue about that.
No concept of that whatsoever.
So
that's really good.
It's like a big red flag that it's.
That's awesome. I love that.
It's very cool.
I love that.
Very cool.
I love that. Okay, episode 6 has the second best title, and that's called Far, Far Away, because it's a galaxy far, far away. So
the episode titles for this show
are good.
Very good. Very good.
So we find Grand Admiral Thrawn past the galaxy. We meet him. He has a very cool
entrance.
He's very Thrawn-like in this, apparently.
Well, yeah, so they've been on this planet, Peridia, in a different galaxy for 10 years. He's got his Star Destroyer that was whisked away by the space whales. And he's got a bunch of stormtroopers, but they all look a little worse for wear. The ship has cracks all over it that have been filled in with some sort of material. All the stormtroopers have cracks in their armor that have been filled in with some sort of material.
Literal and metaphorical.
This is apparently a reference to like the pottery. There's a style of pottery that does this in like Asian cultures where they fill in with gold or whatever. Cool. Yeah. And then his like right hand lieutenant stormtrooper has like some of the coolest armor. His name is Enoch, which is a biblical thing as well. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with that. But he's really cool. He's got his helmet is the coolest stormtrooper helmet.
It is very cool.
It makes Captain Phasma look like something you'd find at wish.com. I don't know. He's very cool.
So in case you're wondering, Enoch is a biblical figure and the patriarch prior to Noah's flood. And
he's Noah's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically he's like straight up Old Testament.
Yeah, and there was the trimmed part of the Bible was like the Book of Enoch, and I've heard a lot about him because on that Ancient Aliens show on the History Channel,
okay.
The Book of Enoch focuses. He gets taken away by aliens or angels and goes around the universe or something. So kind of cool stuff like that. Yeah.
In case you're wondering, the name Enoch is Hebrew and it means to train.
Oh.
Cool. So yes, there's the Book of Enoch, which you were just talking about. He is also sometimes called the Scribe of Judgment, which I think is an interesting little thing here. And in Book of Genesis, it says Enoch lived 365 years before he was taken, and it specifically says taken. The text reads, Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him. So are we likening then Thrawn to God?
I mean, in his own mind, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, that's interesting, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very cool set piece. The look of the stormtroopers are amazing, and Thrawn's entrance, they're all chanting, and it's very.
And then he shows up, and
very
it's like
big build up, and then
I love a good entrance. Yeah. So we've got that. They meet, and then we also meet the Night Sisters as part of this, because Thrawn has gotten some friends out here.
Yeah, so apparently this is where the Dathmorians actually originated. They back in the day, they lived in this other galaxy on this this planet, and you can see a lot of their ruins around. And they migrated with the space whales to Dathomir.
Right.
In their history, and we find out that Morgan is a Night Sister, and that's why she's been doing all this. Yes. She wants to reconnect with her past and get some cool witch powers.
Witches. And the Night Sisters are super cool. And then at the very end, not only do we meet Thrawn, we meet someone else at the very end, because in order to appreciate Sabine for having given the map and everything, Thrawn's like, you know what? You are free to go find your friend, but our ship is leaving with or without you. So make sure that you're back here by this time, and you'll be granted a pardon. Lies, of course. So Sabine takes off. That's fine. She's kind of nervous because, of course, she's met Thrawn before, so she's not really buying it, but she's going to go take this opportunity to go find Ezra. And then he waits a little bit, and then he orders. Oh, and this is interesting. He refers to Balin and Hattie as the mercenaries throughout this whole time, because that's basically what they've become. Balin is a former Jedi, and he talks about his experiences a lot at the Jedi Temple. So there's also, he's such a cool character, man. And so they wait a while, and then they're going to go track her and kill her, and maybe Ezra as well if she finds him. So she goes off to find them. If she meets the cool rock hermit crabs, and also she has a very cool mount. They are rat dog horses.
Rat dog horse, yeah. They're very cute.
They're awesome.
She also gets a really cool fight scene against the raiders.
Oh yeah, that's on their way to meet them. Yeah.
The red Tusken Raider.
Yeah, red Tusken Raiders, exactly. And she does. And what's cool about this is she's using her blaster a lot, and it's not really working so much. So then she pulls out her lightsaber, and you get to see this moment of a lot of it is her not feeling like a successfully trained. Jedi's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying, right?
For the rest of the series, she kind of switches back and forth between the lightsaber and the blaster, and
almost that's on purpose.
Yeah, until she kind of finds a balance between the two, and then really wrecks at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the first time we get to see the interchangeability. Yes. We find out that the hermit crabs actually know where Ezra is. They take her to him
because he's been hanging out with them.
Yeah, and so at the very end, you get the moment where she reunites with Space Aladdin. Okay, part 7 is called Dreams and Madness. This one, Hera is basically having to face a disciplinary hearing, and there's a very cool cameo here.
Thank goodness that they went this route instead of trying to CGI Princess Leia.
Yeah, actually, even story-wise, it makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
She's off doing an important General Leia stuff,
and she is so widely revered that it's you are not even worth my time to message in here.
Anyway, she sends C-3PO, which very, very cool cameo.
Yeah, he just shows up and is like,
Yeah. Anyway, saves her butt.
Yeah, it says
Cover
Leia
story,
has.
yeah.
Leia gave her permission.
No,
of course.
Everyone knows it's BS, but they can't say anything.
You're not gonna say anything against Leia, right? And then she's also like, I was also wondering why you felt the need to vote without me there. Maybe I'll overlook it. And so everyone is well chastised, and you have. Then you have Hera being like she gets to keep her being a general and so on, and you do have like a little bit of conversation about how real the threat is of Thrawn, and then of course we switch back to see Thrawn's there. Thrawn's like they're getting ready to head home. Like it's not good.
Not good.
Not good. So we find that also these little characters are Purgles.
Purgles are the space whales that can travel at warp speed,
which is super cool. That is how
hyperspace, yeah.
Ahsoka and Dave Tennant droid are coming to find them, because they follow the migratory patterns, and they're like, well, we're just gonna like hop a ride with the space whale. So they do that.
Yeah, Ahsoka is like, she uses her Jedi Uber app.
Yeah.
and then they go.
Can we call the episode the Jedi Uber app?
I don't know. Anyway, and they go full Pinocchio and catch a ride with the whale.
Yeah. Jedi Uber apps and full Pinocchio. Perfect. Love it. That's basically like how you have to travel now. So they basically and then the whales are like, see ya, basically, because there's a minefield, like Thrawn, and they're
so this
attacked.
This is one instance of Thrawn showing a little bit of tactical brilliance. He's been told that Ahsoka's dead, but he's like,
pressing X for doubt.
I kind of met Ahsoka. I get that that's probably not the case. I know she has pretty thick plot armor, so I'm gonna lay out this minefield.
He's like, I read whose name was on the top of the page of the script.
Yeah. So he sets up a minefield, and all these whales warp in, and there's a big minefield, and it's not good for the whales.
No, so the whales are like, see ya.
Yeah.
And they warp away. And then then Ahsoka and Dave Tennant droid are like, man, there's our cover. So then they land. Meanwhile, basically, Sabine and Ezra are being attacked, and the hermit crab people are being attacked by the raiders. Have joined forces, or basically been hired out. The mercenaries hired the raiders, basically. So we have Balin and Hattie are like, we're gonna kill them. So they show up, and they're
actually, no, not Balin and Hattie. Balin says, my purpose here is way bigger than Ezra Bridger.
He helped track them, and then is like, he's also like, see ya.
See ya. I got bigger fish to fry.
Yes. Okay.
There's always a bigger fish.
There is always a bigger fish. Okay, so they're in trouble, and through the Force now, Ahsoka finds Sabine.
Not Ezra.
No, Sabine, which is super interesting. And that is, again, calling back to the master and apprentice kind of
a link, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. She does a very cool arrival scene, fights Balin kind of as he's running away, but then jumps into the fight and helps basically save Sabine and Ezra. And then they have a lovely little reuniting scene.
And very cool. Ezra fights with no lightsaber. He doesn't want his old lightsaber back because he's giving it to Sabine. That's yours. I'm gonna fight with the Force.
Yeah.
And he does some pretty cool stuff with the Force, including like holding Hattie's lightsaber back.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Really cool shot.
And meanwhile, Hattie's like, I've been kicking butt. Oh my god, who's this guy?
Yeah. So anyway, it's very cool. And then Ahsoka, of course, is the cavalry, and
she does that.
Just saves the day.
And then finally, we have another extremely cool title for Part 8. It's called The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Calling back to the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Of course.
I just have to say the obvious, right? So, Elspeth is this... Morgan has been...
Speaking of biblical references, Narnia.
Is gifted the Great Sword by the Great Mothers. Or, sorry, Mother Talzin's sword. Great sword. By the Great
Mother
Mothers.
Talzin was, of course, the head witch back in Clone Wars that did all the cool stuff. And...
Right. So they give her basically super Night Sister magic witch powers and also this really cool sword.
She gets a promotion, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, we're going to give this to thank you. And you're like, is it a thanks? Is it a thanks?
She gets new
new contacts.
New makeup routine.
Bridger constructs a new lightsaber using spare parts from that like are on the ship, and then he also has this lovely little reunite scene. He doesn't know Dave Tenedra, that's just his name now, I've decided. But he talks about knowing Kanan, who trained Ezra, who was Hera's partner.
And they have a really cool reference. They say this was the hilt piece, the focus emitter was the twin to Kanan's lightsaber, and it makes a really thin blade because in Rebels the way they animated the lightsabers, they said it looked too thin, so it was like kind of a
I like
nod
that.
to
Yeah, that's fun. Ahsoka, Ren, and Ezra then head on to the ship. Their ship is damaged by fighter attack, because of course Thrawn's like, okay, let's go attack them. We don't want them following us. So their ship is attacked, but they're fine. Fine-ish. They get onto the ship.
Stormtroopers, even ones in a different galaxy, not the best of aim.
No,
they're sitting ducks, sitting with this convoy of crab people going really slow, and they can't blow up their ship on 3 paths. Anyway, plot armor,
exactly. So they kill a bunch of stormtroopers, and as they're chasing after to try and stop Thrawn from leaving, they the Night Sisters have a little chant, and something happens to the stormtroopers.
Yes, well, they infiltrate the ship, and Thrawn sends the detachment of stormtroopers, and they're told basically like, you're cannon fodder.
Yeah,
we'll see you never.
Yeah,
we're gonna take off.
And they're like, but that
okay.
Also is like, okay, we like Thrawn. Yes.
Yeah, we're very loyal. Whatever. But yeah, so they get wrecked by Ahsoka, Sabine, and
very cool scene where they just take down everyone.
Yeah, really quick and easy. Yeah. No problem. Stormtroopers, no big deal. Until 5 seconds later, and they get resurrected into Stormtrooper zombies.
Yeah. And they're just like, what? Stormtrooper zombies.
Stormtrooper zombies.
And so now there are Stormtrooper zombies everywhere, and every time they knock them down, they just come right back up. And I have one question. Why are you not chopping off their heads once you figure this out?
Well, so they're in the Star Wars universe. They've never seen a zombie movie before, so they don't get it. They don't get it.
I guess so. So okay. Then we have that we see that they're still moving forward. So then Morgan stays back.
It's all basically a race against time. They're trying to cut through the zombies to get to the ship because they know the ship is docking with the ring and it's going to take off and leave them in this galaxy.
Right.
They have no other way to get back.
No.
It's all a race.
And we also want to stop Thrawn from returning.
And Thrawn's like, ha ha ha, I'm going to escape and go be the heir to the Empire.
And Morgan is then basically says, I will stay back to fight them because I'm now super witch.
She's told to stay back, and she knows what that means.
Yeah, and even the Night Sisters are like, yep, okay. So she fights with Ahsoka again. We basically have rematch. Very cool scene here, Morgan. This is like what you're talking. She goes full samurai, basically.
Yeah. So this is a cool. It's not a lightsaber fight because the sword of Mother Talzin isn't a lightsaber, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
And it's very samurai Kurosawa, just lovely.
Totally.
And the cinematography on top of that pedestal and all that it's so good. It's so good.
So good. Ezra does a big jump, and at this point also Sabine has started using the Force more reliably. So Ezra does a big jump and he's like, I don't think I can make it, and she says, I'll push you.
And he's like, you barely just did a force pull on your lightsaber one time.
Yeah, but basically they're running out of time because ship is moving, right? And so he looks at her and he's got to put trust on her, and so he does, and it works. She does a push there, and then he's like, okay, and now you jump and I'll pull with I'll force pull you. Meanwhile, Ahsoka is back there fighting.
And isn't doing so good.
And isn't doing so well, but she's like, you need to go. Like, the priority has to be to stop Thrawn. Because, Sabine did so well with this the first time. This was the priority, right?
She listens
so
really well. It's a whole... it's a whole line of master and apprentice, taking this full circle of master and apprentice, the apprentice not listening to the master. So you go all the way back. You got
Let's do it.
You got Master Yoda.
Yeah.
He trains Count Dooku.
Yeah.
He not historically known for his listening skills or whatever. Count Dooku trains Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon, who
famously like one of the most off the books Jedi of all time,
which is why he works so well with Obi-Wan.
He doesn't. He listens a little better than most of them, but also, I mean, he's Obi-Wan.
He's Obi-Wan. He does his own thing. And then trains, of course, Anakin. Whoa.
Yeah.
You thought Dooku went off the rails, man.
Yeah, and Anakin, of course, was Ahsoka's master, and Ahsoka famously just like quit the Jedi.
I am no Jedi.
And then that brings us back to Sabine. So
who also is no Jedi.
just a whole platoon of non-listeners.
Yeah, basically. But yet somehow Ahsoka is surprised by this every time, and even David Tennant droid is like, you literally all do the same thing.
Yeah, it's like
he's like, I have watched this happen every single time.
David Tennant droid is apparently like 25,000 years old.
Oh, that's
so
he's
cool.
Seen. He's literally seen. He's like, who trained Yoda? Because he probably didn't listen very well.
He was apparently around in like the old Republic.
Ooh, maybe we'll get some more David Tennant droid.
Maybe.
So anyway, she does a run and she looks like she keeps looking back and forth. You know, she's thinking about it, but then she backs up to like do the run, and you're supposed to think, oh.
And they cut away, Dramatic irony. Yeah.
So, and of course she shows up and she helps Ahsoka, and they kill Morgan, and are kind of like with all the droids there. But
stormtroopers.
I said droids. Sorry.
Clone Wars was a long time ago. That's when there was droids.
Yes.
But, yeah.
So Ahsoka, Sabine, and I was thinking David Tennant droid are now stuck on this island. This planet.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we have Ezra Bridger is alone basically on the ship, and he gets the stormtroopers because they're so helpful. Do attack him, and he gets rid of them right away. But then he gets the radio call that they're going to come and send backup, and he's basically like, okay, and dresses like a stormtrooper and is able to hide,
which is basically his go-to move in Rebels. He's
even at season 1
he's constantly dressing in or stealing armor and like basically being Han Solo on the radio going, everything's fine here.
Yeah. How are you?
So that's the thing.
Yeah, that's so I like that. Thrawn and the Great Mothers, because the witches have gone with him, of course. Nothing bad could possibly happen there. They arrive over Dathomir?
Yeah, they go to Dathomir. He has a really cool, cold F you Ahsoka line as he's warping out.
Oh.
Do you remember?
No.
He because Ahsoka's chasing him in the ship because they get the ship going.
Yeah.
Or the hermit crabs and David Tennant droid get the ship going, and they're chasing Thrawn down, trying to catch him before he warps away, and he's like very full of himself because he's going to get away, and he opens up a hailing channel and he basically talks to Ahsoka and saying,
I know he's basically like, I know he does that, but I can't remember what the line is.
It's basically like, I've won and goodbye forever.
Right. And leaves them there. They're stranded now. So we see them, and they're kind of hanging out with hermit crab guys, and Hera's very accepting and very Jedi-ish about it. She's like, Ezra is where he needs to be, and we are where we need to be for now. So it's for now. Also, we see Bridger escaping somehow. He escaped Thrawn. Well, not somehow. He shows up.
He steals Balin's ship, is what he does.
And he shows up. We don't know where the hangar is, but he shows up in a hangar. And you see this, and there's like guards everywhere, and they've got their blasters trained on the doors. It opens up, and a stormtrooper walks down.
You think about it. The last time they've seen the ship, that docked with a New Republic thing. There was 2 people that killed everyone on board.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. So totally understand this. Yeah.
And then this lone stormtrooper walks off, and they're gonna shoot him.
But Hera's like looking at him and steps forward like that, and then Chopper starts going crazy because before he takes off his helmet, Chopper knows what's up, and then he takes off his helmet, and you have this lovely little reunion between Chopper and Hera and Ezra. And then we go back and we find that the hermit crab people are hanging with these guys. We also see that basically it's like, where are they when we're all leaving? Hattie has joined the bandits because she's also left there. And also Balin, who's also left there, is literally hanging out on the edge of a cliff.
But it's a very important cliff, at least.
Yes, there's a mountain by a statue.
3 statues. Well, 2.5 statues.
The Mortis gods?
Mortis gods, yeah. So this, again, was a really weird tangent in the Clone Wars, where Anakin and Ahsoka go to this planet where there's basically like the gods of the Force, and there's the father, the daughter, and the son, and the father's like kind of God, and then you have like the light side is the daughter and the dark side is the son,
right? And
they have this whole thing you kind of have to watch. It's very strange,
but it's also very cool.
It is cool, and it gets you into like the more cosmic areas of Star Wars and the deep parts of the Force, and it's kind of cool. And apparently they're going to be diving into that going forward.
Apparently, because Balin said he was looking for something bigger, and that's where he ends. So it's like, oh my goodness.
So and in the Clone Wars arc, Ahsoka dies. She's killed by the son, and Anakin defeats the son, and then the daughter kind of gives her life force to revive Ahsoka.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so that's why the daughter statues blowed up.
Right.
It's kind of metaphorical, but the first thing you see of this, before you see Balin standing on the statues, it's a little bird thing, the green and white bird thing. That's like kind of the avatar of the daughter.
Oh.
And so there's some thoughts that like Anakin's gonna be the father now, and Ahsoka's gonna be the daughter. Like they're kind of, it's like a cycle, and then they're gonna take their place amongst the Force gods, and then like who's gonna be the son? Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
Lots of theories, kind of weird. Yeah, in a cool way. Weird.
Yeah, I'm okay as long as they do it cool. It's cool. Yeah. Okay, man, long episode already. What did you think overall?
I really liked it. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't at least some more satisfying conclusion in the last episode. It was, I was fully expecting it to be cliffhangery. Empire Strikes.
You literally back said that, yeah.
Style, bittersweet ending, and it was, but we got very little any sort of answers at all.
Right.
Needed to resolve at least one thing, and then you can leave everything else open-ended.
I agree.
I would have liked to know a little bit more about what Balin was doing.
Especially because they spent so much time watching him venture forward, and then it's like,
it's like Lord of the Rings cliffs.
Yeah.
Very Lord of the Rings cliffs. I know.
So I got a message. We've talked quite a bit about, like, what do you think of the show if you've never seen any Rebels, any Clone Wars, anything?
Yeah, and we'll get into the message, but I think after the first couple of episodes, it did better.
Yes.
It wasn't as important to.
Yeah, we said that I think we said that after episode 6, that like, okay, now.
Yeah. It's fine, but I would be curious to hear an opinion of someone who hasn't.
Well, I've got one for you. Because we brought this up quite a few times, especially towards the beginning. And listener Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
Messaged. I'm not going to read the full thing, but just said Ahsoka is freaking amazing. So we know Lindsay hasn't watched any Clone Wars or Rebels, like, at all. So, okay.
I just heard of Ahsoka on the Winds.
Well, and she's also, though, very pop culture savvy.
Yeah.
So she said that, she watched the Mandalorian shows and everything like that, but she couldn't remember Morgan from them. So then when we saw her again in this one, she just looked her up and was like, oh, okay. Looked up Ahsoka, a little bit of stuff like that. I just finished episode 8 and I loved everything in capitals, everything about the show. It is my favorite Star Wars, along with Andor. Fair. Now the season is finished, I stand by my earlier statements. I was able to thoroughly enjoy it, even though I haven't watched Rebels or Clone Wars. It must be a testament to the whole cast and crew, because I actually got emotional when Ezra was found, and I had no previous attachments.
Interesting, because I didn't, but
I
don't know.
I think the series blends science fiction with an almost fantasy-like feel, and it feels more like a character piece. Compared to something like Boba Fett and even Mandalorian, in this show I actually cared about the people, especially as a group. And then she talked about how awesome the space whales were.
Yeah, like Rebels had a feeling of family. Like I said, you had the mom and the dad and the kids and the weird uncle. We didn't get to see the weird uncle in this.
I
Unfortunately.
know, which is so random. They have him. He showed up at the end of Mando season 3.
Yeah. So he's coming, but maybe they just didn't have the budget for it. I don't know.
Thought we were going to see him at the end.
Yeah. He should have probably been in the hangar with Hera.
Even just like a smile or like running towards him or something like that. Or, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
My biggest problem with the end.
Yeah. It is unfortunate we didn't get to see Zeb, but anyway. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, the ending. And not emotional attachment.
Emotional attachment. Yeah, it is more character driven, and that's a good point about it being fantasy, that's why it feels more Star Warsy, because Star Wars has always been space fantasy.
That's true.
Not sci-fi. And Andor and Rogue One are more grounded and
they're like spy thrillers.
Spy thriller, gritty resistance.
Totally.
Stuff like war movies. Like Rogue One's more of a war movie than anything.
It is.
And so that's why this one feels so Star Warsy, is because it leans into that fantasy side, which is great. I like both.
Yep, that's totally good. I really, really liked it. I love Ahsoka, me and I know everyone else. I am a fan of like strong Star Wars female characters. And Hera is also super cool, by the way. And this iteration of Hera is also super cool, by the way. Even Morgan Elspeth as like a villain was like a very cool kind of like villain, right? So I like all of that, but Ahsoka's like next level. We watched the finale with me wearing my ears, and I was just very happy about it.
And it is very cool that a new character, she was just introduced with the Clone Wars movie originally. Initially disliked because the first season of Clone Wars is a little bit rough, so fair enough. Tough to introduce a brand new character to hang out with like some of the big canon, like she hung out with Anakin and Obi-Wan, right? And so it would be easy to screw that up, but eventually was built into one of the most beloved new characters, new or
awesome.
Otherwise, and that's it's really cool.
Very cool. Okay, so we're leaving on a cliffhanger. We're set up definitely either for season 2 or the Thrawn movie.
Which would you prefer? I mean, we're getting the Mandoverse, the Filoniverse crossover, Infinity War, Endgame movie eventually. I personally would like to see another season of
I
Ahsoka
think I would as well.
First.
I don't need to see another season of every Star Wars show. Andor, yes, of course. But we are getting that already.
That one was,
I think I would.
That one was set up as a 2-season arc anyway. And that's separate.
I think I would. I know, I'm just saying Star Wars shows. But like, I think if we have another season, like, I'm very happy to focus on Ahsoka, but this one didn't even really focus on Ahsoka. So I think, like, maybe change the title, because I think that upset a lot of people. And
Ahsoka and Friends.
Well, because it seems like that weirdly upsets people.
Yeah, I get it, but you can't sell a show called Sabine.
No, you can't, but you can call it something else.
Yeah.
Don't need to name it after anyone. But I guess that's their thing, right? They're all character names. Mandalorian, Boba Fett. I mean, Mandalorian has a name, and he's still called Mando, short for Mandalorian. Like, I get that. Even Andor, like, everything is like that. So, I mean, okay, fine.
Except for Skeleton Crew.
So, I don't know. And Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah, those are animated. Skeleton Crew is the next live action. That's the one with Jude Law.
Right. So there you go. If you can do it with that, but if you're gonna make it more like a group thing, I don't know. Maybe a name change, but that's such a silly minor thing, and I love the moments of Ahsoka. So I don't know.
They could do a season 2, except not call it a season 2 and just call it Heir to the Empire.
Something
but
like
that's what they figure they're
gonna call the
movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm good to have another season between now and the movie. Totally. Or give me a. I don't know. You can give me another.
I want to see a season of Ahsoka and Sabine and David Tennant. Figuring out the mystery of that planet and getting back to the main galaxy. All the while, Thrawn just
Thrawn-like.
just slapping the New Republic around. I want to see that.
Yep, agreed. And then to work up to the movie, I think if you give us the movie right now, it would be fine. But if you want this big epic moment,
up to it. I want to build up to it.
You need more build up. Okay, this is a very long episode. Any final thoughts about Ahsoka? Other than thumbs up, we really liked it. I still liked Andor more if I have to put all of them in order.
Andor was more consistently strong.
But this was just so cool.
But this was more Star Warsy, so it gets a little bit of a bonus for that too.
I'm totally fine with that. It's really hard to compare them because they're so different.
Yeah.
Did you like this better or first season of Mando? Because I know before that was your standing favorite.
Yeah, I probably liked this a little more just because it does feel like it's building to something. Again, if it doesn't build to something, then
that really colors
season 1 of Mando stands on its own as just like fun and good.
Yeah, but so there's a good example of things are wrapped up, but we're still like season 1 was like, we have a quest, we're going to continue. We are set up for season 2, but we can also watch it in its entirety and not be like, yeah. Okay. Do you want to invent an Ahsoka drink?
I do now.
Through the magic of editing.
Through the magic of editing. Yeah. I had to think about this.
Okay.
I do Ahsoka justice.
Okay.
So it's
because we love her.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with vodka.
Okay.
That's gonna be your alcohol. Well, the main part of the alcohol.
That's concerning.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, we need some vodka.
Okay.
And this is the second time I'm going to be using this, but I think it's very appropriate. We're going to get some White Monster, the no sugar monster. This is for her white lightsabers.
Oh, yeah, you do need that. You're right. Which is so cool. Okay.
And the other important part of this is you're going to need 2 glasses.
Because there are 2 lightsabers.
You're double fisting it for Ahsoka.
Okay.
And
that's good.
And you're going to put in a splash of blue Caraco. Because she's blue. Yeah. And then a little bit of Orange Crush pop in there.
Actually, this might taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's orange.
It's probably going to all mush together. Maybe if you can try and layer it, I don't know.
I'm not sure. The pop might just sink right through, right? I like it.
But yeah, double fisting.
Yeah, that's important.
One glass can be bigger and the other one can be smaller because that's how lightsabers are. She's got that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, so do like...
Or
the shots.
Or the other option is you could make it in one glass, and then the blue Caraca would be like a drop shot.
Oh, because it's her head, and that's cool. I like it. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll try this one. We should actually have some of these before we have too many to try in one thing.
We can try them one at a time. Some of these are gonna have to find
specific ingredients.
Oh, and the addendum to the Haunted Mansion drink that I talked about last week. I think I need to add some sort of ghost pepper flavor to it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Just a little bit of maybe a touch of ghost pepper hot sauce or like a rim ghost pepper salt around the rim or something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ghost pepper.
That's
spice it up.
That's actually really.
I was
good.
disappointed.
And it's a ghost.
I was disappointed with my Haunted Mansion drink.
Yeah,
so
but I like it better with the ghost pepper. I think that's good. Yeah, because it was the what was it?
Dune Buggy.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay, I like it. That's a good drink name. Is this just called the Ahsoka?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. That's what it should be called. Good. I approve. Yay.
The Ahsoka Jedi mind trick.
Oh, nice. Okay, you try the Doom Buggy. I'll try the Ahsoka Jedi mind trick. Episode's been really long. Ahsoka thumbs up. Star Wars thumbs up. Skeleton Crew's next. When does that come?
I don't know. I think the strikes have messed that up as well.
Okay, so that is our show then. Thank you, El Mule, who's responsible for the custom theme song you heard at the top of the show. You can find a link to his work on our website at disneya.wixsite.com/podcast. That's also where you can find a link to our email and our social media. Facebook and Instagram, especially Instagram, is probably the best way to get a hold of us because it's the one that I'm on. And I'm on Instagram a lot.
You are, yeah.
You can find Disney A episodes on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms and on our YouTube channel, Adventures A. Next episode, returning to... Well, no, we're still in spooky season. We're just going to go more spooky season. like full on Halloween time.
More than ghosts, witches, and
I
zombies?
don't know how. It's time for a blind date with Disney.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right. Do you see why I'm grinning at you? Why am I grinning at you?
I don't. Okay, what's going on?
One of us is watching a blind date with Disney.
Oh, what are you watching?
No, that's what you're watching.
No.
We'll have a discussion because there's a couple options.
Well,
one is me watching and one is you watching.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But yes, we haven't done a blind date for Disney in a while. And, we like doing seasonal ones, so it's time.
Yay.
Yay. You don't sound very optimistic until you thought it was me watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Krysta.
I'm Brandon.
And until the next adventure, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Thanks for listening to Disney, eh?